Hey there, welcome back to my channel. Let's continue with our episode. In the previous episode, we have covered all the possible endpoints for our product, and there are two more major sections out there that is called the category and deals. But right before moving forward to category and deals, we need to cover our upload image section as well. So today in this tutorial, we are going to work on the upload images section with the help of S3 operation. Let's have a deep look on upload image section. So how we are uploading the images, there are plenty of options are available. As an example, the traditional approach of uploading images, we have a Linux machine or a dedicated server where our Node applications are running, right? And we are sharing one directory where we are placing our images with the help of the Node application. While you are uploading the images, it will go through your Node application, and Node application will be responsible to move that specific image to that specific directory. That directory is exposed to the outside world with the help of some kind of the file reading and writing rules. But still there is a kind of potential risk of the exposing that specific directory directly from the server or the specific machine. And another potential risk of running out of the storage, because you can see as soon as we are uploading images, right? The shared whatever the shared spaces we are just sharing with this specific directory, then it will be grow up exponentially, and not exponentially exactly, but it will grow faster, and your application will be running out of the storage memory, and it will say yeah it's running low, then how we can scale it, right? Then as an example, you are just scaling your machine, right? Then how we will access that specific images to this machine, right? Again, it's a kind of complexity, right? So to get rid of all this complexity and exposing that specific directory to the outside world, right? That's why the S3 bucket is coming to the picture. In the traditional approach, your application instance and the images are storing in the same server, right? Maybe you can use some different server also, but again, there are a lot of complexity you need to paste, right? But in this case, you can see our S3 bucket, all the files are residing in some different, in a different server, and that is managed by AWS, and our application instance are residing in a different server. So in terms of, if you're going to scale your application, then the same application, again, they can access the same resources. So one single source of truth or for images, you can access from multiple instances of the application. That's why this traditional approach is not so convenient over S3 bucket storage. Then let's understand how this storing system is working. All right, I'm gonna delete this instance for a while. Right, so this is the Amazon S3 section, and it is saying like Amazon S3 is an object storage service that offer industry-leading scalability, data availability, security, and the performance. So where you can set some kind of rule to your bucket, like specific resources or specific the files that can be accessible from only the authorized services. In terms of, you can set some kind of security rule as well, as in order to maintain your security. So your files are not directly exposed to outside world anyway, and you need to maintain some kind of the security protocol, right? So let's have a look. So here I'm going to click on the S3 section, right? Then you can see this dashboard, right? And here, just to click on the create bucket, I'm gonna create a bucket here. That is, as an example, this is a kind of simple name, all right? So the bucket name has to be unique, and it has to be globally unique, right? And it says like, must not contain the space and uppercase letter. So we are not putting any kind of uppercase letter. And if you wish to consider space, then make sure you're just putting hyphen here, right? Or dash here. And this is my region, because all the buckets are maintaining kind of region. You can copy some existing configurations from also. If you click on the source bucket, so these are my buckets which is already exist. So one of the bucket you can select for reuse the configuration. So we are not going to do that. All right. So ACLS disable, that is fine, right? Access control, we are just disabling right here, and block public access for this bucket, because we are going to create a private bucket, because this bucket we are not going to publicly expose, because as you can see here in the diagram, we are just creating the private bucket, right? Rest of all, we are not going to select anything because we are not versioning our bucket, that is disabled, all right? Versioning bucket in terms of like, we can keep the multiple variant of the objects, that is we can do, right? Because we are only saving only one variant of the images or files only, that is not needed. So and encryption, default encryption will be, this is recommended, that this is fine, right? And bucket key, yeah, the bucket key is needed, that is enable, right? Then click on the create bucket. Right, our bucket is being created right now. Cool. Let's go to diagram, go to this diagram, and let's see how this whole system is gonna work. Let's understand this diagram. So we have a kind of S3 bucket that is private, which we have created right now, and our product service will be having access of that specific bucket, right? Not the whole product service, one of the Lambda functions we are going to create, then specific Lambda function will have the access of that specific bucket. And our web application will be request to our product service, gonna say like, hey, please give me a kind of signed URL where I can upload the files. Then that from the product service, that Lambda function will create a kind of signed URL with a kind of certain permission. So our web application will not directly interact with our product service anymore, because once the web application will be received that the sign upload URL, then web application can directly upload the image to this directory, this S3 bucket, right, which is private. And once the file is uploaded, then again there's a problem, like web application cannot access this specific file from the bucket because our bucket is private. We don't have a permission. It's already gained the signed upload URL only, not the reading URL. So how we can do so? So here the CloudFront distribution is coming to the picture. So CloudFront distribution, we are setting some kind of rules to this S3 bucket. This specific S3 bucket files can be read from the CloudFront distribution only. And that CloudFront distribution is going to distribute our files across the various regions. So now it's pretty clear, like our web application going to request that specific file to our CloudFront distribution, and CloudFront distribution is going to take care of distributing file or reading the file from the S3 bucket. So you can set some kind of rule. Yeah, we are going to give the access of only the PNG files, only the JPG files, on the PDF files. You can just distribute accordingly. And now you can see this is our demo bucket, and we don't have anything right here. If you upload a file here, I'm gonna add some files here. And as an example, yeah, this is the cluster computing. All right, this is, we have just uploaded here, upload. Right, now file is uploaded. Right, close. Now you can see this is our file. Right, so now you can see this is our file. Right, if you click here, and you cannot access this file. So let's set up our CloudFront distribution so we can at least access this file. And here we are going, I'm gonna open a kind of separate window. Right, so here in the CloudFront, you just type CloudFront, then, or you can just go ahead and you can see this is CloudFront. All right, click here, then you can see this kind of dashboard, something like this. Right, now click on the create distribution. Right, to create a distribution, first we need to select a domain name. So that is, we need to select from here. We will select our currently created the S3 bucket. That is, you can see my SLS demo bucket. This is this one. And second, the origin path, we are not applying any kind of origin path. That is going to be append to our bucket name. That is not required because we need to access all the files from the bucket. And the by default origin access will be public. That is, we need to restrict the access, right? So let's provide this one, origin access control. That is recommended exactly. So click here, and as soon as you're clicking here, then you need to create a kind of control settings also, right? By click here in the control settings. So this is our control settings, right? And name, my SLS demo. We can say like SLS demo. This is also cool, right? Or you can put any kind of name like SLS demo bucket control setting, right? Our description is optional, and we need to have a sign request, right? We are not overriding any kind of authorization header. That is fine. And origin type is S3. That is fine. And click on the create, right? So it is created. And now now scroll down a little bit. In the default cast behavior, we are only interested to here in the viewer section, that is called HTTP and HTTPS. So this specific distribution can be accessible from the HTTP and HTTPS port. Or if you put on the HTTPS, then you need to make sure your front end will be distributed only with the HTTPS certificate, right? So we are happy with the HTTP and HTTPS. Perfect. Now allow method will be the get and head, because we are not writing any files from here. If you wish to write any files from this CloudFront distribution, then make sure you need to make sure select the put, post, and patch delete this last option, right? This is cool. And the cache key origin request, we are not going to setting anything right here, right? This is by default, it's perfectly fine. And now let's go ahead here and click on the create distribution, right? So this distribution is going to take a little bit time. So make sure while you are coming to this page, do not dismiss this page, because you need to copy your policy. Click on the copy policy here, right? Then we can go ahead here in SLS demo bucket, which is already I have open in a separate tab, right? Click here, and if you go here in the bucket, click on the bucket and click on the permission, right? And scroll down a little bit. This is our bucket policy. That policy we have created here, that is, it is prompting here a copy policy, and add that specific policy here as well as, right? Paste it here. So what exactly this says, this policy, like the principle is only allow to get object for CloudFront distribution, all right? That specific ARN. ARN stands for like Amazon resource number, right? And this CloudFront, this resource can access that specific directory, all right? Only for get object, right? Resources, this resource ARN is this one, right? Now let's save this file here, save changes, right? And this distribution is going to take a little bit time. So once this is done, I'll get back to you. Perfect. So after a couple of minutes, I can see our distribution is perfectly ready. Right. Now click on the distribution link. This is our distribution domain name, right? Click here and paste it on browser. Now you can see we don't have access of any files here because we are not giving any file name. Now go to S3 section and just type your bucket name. You can see this is our listed bucket, which is we have created, right? Certainly it's a private, and click here. And now this is our file name. You click on the file name, then you can see this object overview, because in the S3 bucket, it is not considering as a kind of file, it's considering as a kind of object, right? And you can see these are the informations related to this file, all right? And click this key name. The key name is potentially our file name, right? And we can paste it right here after this, the CloudFront distribution URL, right? Now just press enter. Now you can see this is our file. Now we can see we are perfectly able to access the private S3 bucket files with the help of CloudFront distribution. Perfect. So same thing we are going to implement with our product service. Let's add some code to the source code. So first thing, we need one Lambda function that is going to be just like our product and deals our API service. Let's create one file here, new file. That file will be image uploader. Image upload, maybe image.ts, right? So this is our file, and or maybe image API also you can say, that is also fine. Yeah, we are just to try to keep pretty much the same convention. So here in the image API, let's add some code. So we can borrow some script from here and go to deals or the categories. So this whole Lambda function, you can grab it from here and you can add it right here also. And let's get rid of all these things from here. Cool. So here we are going to add some code for upload our image. So right before adding some code, let's try to install a couple of dependencies that is going to be needed. I'm going to keep this file only and close all rest of all files. Here in the package.json file, do we have a AWS SDK? We don't have AWS SDK because AWS SDK is going to give you the access of all the clients for AWS resources in terms of S3 client, DynamoDB, or maybe SQS, and the rest of all resources, you will get it right there. So let's try to install that one. So yarn at the AWS SDK, right? Cool. Another dependency we are going to add it right here, that is called UUID, because the same name of the file can be uploaded by different user also. So make sure we are not going to override the same file right here, right? To get rid of that confusion, let's try to install UUID. Perfect. So now it is added. Now let's try to implement all those things here. All right. First of all, so next thing we are going to import one more thing that is going to be our from the UID. That is, we are going to use the version 4 b4 as this is b4 as UID. Okay, it is complaining because it needs the types file as well as. Let's try to install the types file as well as. Cool. So these are the steps we are going to do. First of all, we will just grab the file name from the query string, right? So that the file name we will be passing from the front end, right? And after that, we are going to give some kind of the unique name of the file. And then we are creating our S3 parameters, whatever exactly is needed to generate the signed URL. And after that, we are going to create the S3 parameters, and that is going to be needed to get the signed URL. And once this is done, then we are giving back to this specific URL to the client, so client can upload the image. As an example, I can show you something here. This is a kind of platform. It's called Eat Social, that is serving for dining service for restaurant in United States. And if you click on the sign in here, if I sign in here, then if I click here and click on the profile section, then you can see this is the image exactly showing the profile of that specific restaurant, right? And if I click here, and I can just select one kind of like file from here, as an example, this file, open, right? And you can see as soon as I've selected the images, it started uploading and it is updated. See, profile successfully updated, and as soon as I have updated, that image is also getting updated right here in profile section. So same mechanism we have implemented here as well. As soon as we are clicking on this edit button, then it is requesting that the upload signed URL from our microservice, and right after that it is uploading the same file to the S3 directory, right? And with the help of the CDN, it is accessing the whole file. The same kind of mechanism we are going to implement right there as well. And let's go to the source code. So first, what we are going to do, let's try to grab the file. Perfect. So let's go to the code. So first we did here in the line number 11, from the query string, because it's a kind of get request, right? So it doesn't matter to put kind of the post request. So we are just grabbing the file name from here, from the file, and that file name we are creating kind of a unique file because in order to get rid of the override of the same file name, right? And we are creating UID and we are appending the file name at the end of this file, right? And where you can see, like, we are assigning the image.jpg also. That file, you can this specific content time, you can write some kind of logic depends on the file name. That, as an example, here the file name you can split it out like this way, as an example.jpg, right? Or JPG, whatever it is. So depends on that extension, you can define the content type as well as, right? But in our case, we are only accepting the JPG file because it's very lightweight, right? So that is we are going to allow. So that's why we have added the content type as a kind of image JPG, right? So this is the file name, unique file name, which is we are adding to the S3 parameter. And this bucket name we are passing from our infrastructure from here, all right? That is going to be accessed from the process.environment, right? That is, we can access it from there. And once this is done, this S3 parameter is constructed. We have a bucket name, we have the key, we have content type, and then let's have a kind of request for signed URL. And we are granting the permission for the put object only. Right, so here in the line number 22, we are just creating our signed URL, get signed URL promise. by putting it like the put object permission, and all the parameters we are just passing it right here. Once we are getting the signed URL, then we are giving back to the client, right? So this is the part which is exactly done by this image API and the Lambda function, right? Now let's go ahead to this infrastructure directory inside the lib and assign the endpoint for this Lambda function, right? And here I'm gonna close this product API, and in the service tag, here in the service tag, you can see we have a 3 Node.js function, right? Let's add one more function. The name will be our image service as an example. Image service, cool. And this is the same thing we're going to do here as well as, all right? And this time, this is going to be image service, right? This image service is coming from here. Sorry, it's image service. It's image service. And this is not the deals Lambda, this is going to be image upload Lambda. Same thing, we are going to give the parallel reference also. This is going to be image API, and rest of all will be the same because we are passing the same sharing the same common like Node.js function props, right? So that is going to be the same. Cool. Now one step further, here this bucket name, it is not going to be any at all, and this is going to be string. We are not going to make it optional. Let's put it as a kind of string, right? Here you can see we are not using this bucket name right here. We are just passing our hard-coded bucket ARN, right? That is we don't want, right? So instead of ARN, we need to provide this bucket name that is called props.bucket, right? Then this environment variable, you can see inside this bucket name that is accessible here as well as, right? Which is we have accessing from here, process.env.bucket name. And that is we are assigning here inside this Lambda function, see here. So technically this Node.js function will be having all the environment variable or all the properties, whatever we are passing here in the Node.js function props. Cool. So let's close it out, this service stack, and let's go ahead to the API gateway stack. Here in the API gateway stack, we need to do the same thing because we have only 3 Node.js function. So here, this is going to be image service, right? This image service also we need to implement here. That is called image service. You can see the similar kind of endpoints we are going to use for our image service as well as this dot create endpoint, and this time our image service and API gateway as well as API gateway, but this is going to be name will be our image uploader, and methods will be our only get, right? And we are not assigning any kind of child here. Or maybe you can just put it upload also. That name is up to you, right? The way we have added here. So keep it uploader, or maybe uploader. Right, cool. So we have created our endpoint as well as, right? So our API gateway section also done. Now go ahead in the product service stack. Here you can see it is giving error, right? Why it is giving error? Because it doesn't have the image service. We are not importing here, right? And here let's implement the image service that will be coming from the service stack. Here image service, and that is we need to import here image service. So now you can see it is complaining. We don't have a kind of bucket, right? So let's try to create a kind of bucket stack. So we are keeping all the stacks very clean way, because API gateway is responsible for API gateway, service is service, and rest of all it is handling accordingly, right? So we are not messing up with each another. So let's try to create a kind of S3 bucket stack. That is going to be our S3 stack.ts. So let's add some code quickly right here. Export class. All right, so here we need to create the bucket. This bucket going to be accessed from here. You can see this page. We can directly access this bucket here. So for that, let's create our bucket stack. Now bucket is a kind of string, then it is compliant correctly. So now our product service is complete. And let's go get back to the bucket stack. Now let's create the bucket here. Here, let's assign to this dot bucket will be new bucket, and provide the scope. And ID will be just a construct something like this. That is going to be first ID will go there and bucket. And I think if you see in the product service tag, we have already provided the product bucket. It will be look awkward, right? Like bucket, something like this. So what we can do here, we can say like product images, right? Products images, and then product images bucket. It's going to be right. Now go over here. The product images bucket will become over here, and now we need to provide some kind of property. That is going to be block public access, or be block public access. That is going to be block all, right? And then encryption will be bucket encryption, and S3 managed. Then enforced SSL, we can just put true, right? Because we cannot access our bucket without SSL, that is, we can just put it right here. But version we are disabling the version. That is going to be our false. And remove policy, we can just put it remove policy, that is going to be destroy, or you can put it retain, because if you are putting it in a production, then make sure you are just putting as a kind of retain. So if you're going to put on destroy, then at any point if you are destroying your stack, then the bucket will be also going to be destroyed. But for production, we don't want to lose our images, right? If we are destroying our stack at any point of time, we need to upgrade something or undo something, right? So make sure always just keeping it like this way, or otherwise you can put the snapshot also right before deleting. It will always take the snapshot. Okay. Anyway, just we are going to have destroy, because this is our development bucket. So just to put it as this, just like this way. Now we have added everything, right? One thing we need to do, that thing is like this image service, we are not granting the permission at all, right? That permission we need to provide it. So how we can provide this permission? Right here in the product service tag, you can see we have created our bucket, and right before this is the service we need to create, because before creating the service you cannot assign the permission. That is, make sure we're always putting in order, right? The bucket stack going to be create. After that, our service stack is going to be create, and after that we can assign the permission. Right before API gateway stack, we can do that. So let's go ahead. Bucket dot grant read and write permission, or read write permission. You can put read or write, whatever it is exactly it's necessary, but in our case we are just maybe in future we can write something from our that specific function also. So that's why we are just putting it to read and write the access, right? Then they provide the service name, that specific Lambda function name, right? In our case, the image service. Great. So we are good to go. Everything is ready right now. Let's give it a try then, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cdk synth. Right, it says something that is created. Right. All right. Sorry. So this scope, we're not supposed to provide this scope here. Instead of this scope, we need to provide this. All right. because we are directly providing scope that is going to be passed from the somewhere else. But in case you can see here also, we have created the API gateway by providing the scope as this, like scope of this specific context, right? So that is what exactly this says. So let's go give it a try once more. Now you can see it's perfectly validated, right? All the resources has been, it's listed right here. It's perfect. Let's go ahead and try to deploy it. CDK deploy. Perfect. So now our stack is deployed. If you go to this URL, right, open this one. If you put here uploader and the file is test.jpg, easy, right? Then you can see this is the URL it's giving for our upload the file from our front end, and this is our the file name, which is we are going to save while we are going to create our items, right? Let's try to upload our file from our Postman. If you go here in the Postman, you can see this is our get call, right? And this is our base URL, right? And this is our endpoint uploader, and we are putting a kind of parameter that is called file equal to file name, right? Now click on the send. Perfect. So now you can see in the Postman also we are getting the same response, all right? Let's copy this URL from here. Copy. Here we are going to paste our URL, so make sure there's no space before this and there is no space right after this also. So it has to be something like this. There's no enter and no space, right? Cool. And I request you just to double check the method of this call. It has to be put only, right? So make sure in the authorization header section, we are not setting any kind of authorization header or bearer token we are passing it, because this is the signed URL that is directly calling from the front end to our S3 bucket, right? Now go to the body section, and here select the binary and select the file, right? So I'm gonna select this file called scaling1 and open, and now you can send the request. Now you can see the request is success, right? 200. If you go here in the S3 bucket, right, this one, and you can see this file is exists right here, right? If you click on the file, then you can see this is the unique file name, which is we have added with the help of the UUID, and this is our original file name with the extension. And if you click here, then it cannot be accessible, right? So let's try to add the distribution, a CloudFront distribution to that specific bucket, right? So here in the CloudFront distribution section, click on the create distribution and select the domain name. This is our latest bucket, which is called product service stack, the product images bucket. Click here. Here in the origin access section, click on the origin access control settings right here and click on create control settings. And this is perfectly fine. Just we are having the S3 and then click on the create. Now go below, the same thing we are going to replicate. This is the same, yeah, that's perfectly fine. Now let's go ahead and hit the create distribution. Meanwhile, this distribution is going to be deployed. Click on the copy policy and go to this bucket section. If you click on the permissions, now you can see we have already existing policy here. Click on edit, and we are going to add some kind of code here inside the statement because it has the person ID and all, but the policy is giving a kind of whole section. So only we are interested to place that specific statement here, because statement can be multiple, but the policy can be only one single policy you can attach to that specific resource, right? So let's go ahead here in JSON parser. We're going to put this one. Let's copy this statement section from here to this one, copy, and add here right after the statement, put a kind of comma and add your statement out as well. So you can see in the statement what it is saying, it's restricting all the resources, all the access of this resource of this specific bucket, all right, and granting only specific access get object to our CloudFront, right? Now go ahead and hit the save button, right? Save changes. Now it is done. And meanwhile it is deploying. It may gonna take a couple of minutes. once this is done, and then I'll get back to you. Perfect. So after a couple of minutes, I can see our distribution is deployed correctly, right? So now you can see this is our distribution domain name, right? Just copy this one, right? And add it here, right? And go to S3 bucket right now and select our S3 bucket, which is created by our CDK. And you can see this is our file name. Click on the file name, and you can see this is the key. And if you click this URL, certainly you will not get the access of this file, right? Now only interested with this key only. Now, right after this, right, put it here. You can see we can purely access this specific file, right? So this is the way we are going to implement in our front end. It can be accessible. Just one thing. Now you see this is the URL. It is exactly it's working to get the file, right? So we are only going to store this specific information, right? From here, this key name we are going to store in the database, right? Not that whole URL. This URL, the distribution, this base URL or domain name we are going to provide while you will be fetching this product information or some item information from our backend, and then we are going to append that one, right, from the process.environment, right? Because if you're going to store this whole URL, that specific URL in the database, as an example, if you are disabling this distribution, then certainly your frontend will not be able to access this specific file, right? So that's not a good practice. So we are storing this file only. If you wish to destroy your stack, make sure you are deleting this distribution profile, right? Delete these things from here, right? Just something like that. First you disable, right? Once you disable, then you will get the options for delete, right? Then just delete this one, right? And if you go to S3, then the same thing you need to do for policy as well as, right? If you go to this here in the bucket, and you can see in the permissions, right? The same thing we are going to do, edit section, and delete that specific things, whatever we have added from here, right? Delete this one. Then you can fairly delete this tag from your CDK, right? Because that specific manual, whatever the manual things we have added, that is we need to remove first, right? But this is not a kind of part of the process. We are going to cover this distribution part also, but not instantly, because there are a lot of configuration we need to add it. We don't want to stop our the current progress of the microservices due to that. And one specific episode I'm going to record only for covering that, the infrastructure section, where you will see a whole lot of infrastructure we are just creating with the help of CDK, right? All right, so that's all for today. And in the next episode, we are going to cover the category and the deal section. You can see here, the category can have multiple categories, all right? The main category and subcategory. And if you see this website right here, as an example, then you can see here, right here, we have a multiple category, right? This is the category and these are the subcategory, right? And if you click here, that subcategory can have multiple items, all these items. The same way we are going to cover right here as well as, right? We have a main category and we have a subcategories, all right? In the deals section, we are using, in the front end, we are going to use some kind of rotating banner. And in the rotating banner, we have kind of on the categories and the products, and that's going to be electronics, fashion, or something else, right? And the top categories in the home page, we are going to display, that is going to be any kind of top category. As an example, mobile phones. All the mobile phones with a 5-star rating we can display right here. And here only we will display top 10 products. And if you click on the view, then you can see all the categories listed. That is already we have added some kind of mechanism for the products. Like we can call all the products by offset, by page, something like that, right? So these are the things we are going to cover in upcoming episodes. And I hope you like this video tutorial. And if you really like this video tutorial, give me a thumbs up. And share with your friends and colleagues, whoever exactly need this kind of course. And I would like to say thank you for being with me throughout of this series. There are a lot of great content. I'm going to put it right there in the enterprise level. And see you in the next episode. Thank you.